What is up, guys? Welcome back to today's YouTube video. It's our Monday installment, and there's a lot of stuff going on in the standard format, and it's pretty much figured out. So hopefully your Players Cup keys are going well. We have about a month till Chilling Reign drops, which is what everybody is looking forward to. I think I'm going to try to do a big stream for that one. Keep on the lookout for that. I got to get some codes. But today we're going to talk about our first look at post-rotation and the deck that Peter Kica used to win a $1,000 tournament over in New Jersey. So let's check it out. If you're already watching this video, why not hit that like and subscribe button? We got more content coming up, and I'll get you prepared for the competitive season when we come back to tournaments. So stay tuned and stick around with me for the ride, guys. This is the post-rotation Victini deck that Peter Kica used to win a $1,000 tournament in New Jersey. This tournament is the qualifier for a $10,000 tournament happening in the first weekend of August. Vaccination cards are required. It will be Sword and Shield on to prepare for post-rotation and how to, go from there. So obviously we're still missing one set, maybe two sets from our post-rotation because we get Chilling Reign, and we'll get whatever our August/September set is, and then we'll have our full picture of what cards are good. But we kind of know what's good in Chilling Reign, and Victini never stops being good, I think. I think Victini is still one of the strongest cards because of just its sheer attack force. So let's go through the deck a little bit, and we'll talk about post-rotation as well. So Victini VMAX is always going to be a good card in the post-rotation format because Max Victory requires only 2 energy cards to attack. A basic fire and a basic anything. Energy. So for 100 plus 120, you're knocking out any Pokemon V. So just by virtue of the nature of the deck, if you go first and get an attachment down on a Victini, you're already putting immense pressure on pretty much every other deck in the format, which is probably going to be predicated around using V Pokemon that will eventually become VMAXs. So if you can take out a baby V somewhere, another baby V somewhere, and then clean up on a Crobat, you've basically won the game with 3 knockouts and avoid their big attacker the entire game, which is really, really strong if you think about it. So that is why Victini VMAX is always going to be good. So in the post-rotation format, we're going to be losing a lot of cards that you might not have thought were important. So we'll go through the cards and some of the choices that Peter played in this list and talk about why some of these cards look a little bit weirder than others, because we did lose a lot of cards. If you want to check that out, there is the post-rotation video I talked about with Nico Alabas and Will Jenkins, where we kind of dissected the format a little bit and what we're losing and what we're keeping. So that's really important to know. So Peter over here played a 4-4 line of Victini VMAX. In the current standard format, playing Victini V with Energy Burst is really, really strong because we have Welder. But in the post-rotation format, while Energy Burst is a really strong attack and Spreading Flames is a really strong attack, the retreat cost is a little bit more relevant, so we can pivot into our Victini VMAXs. We really are using this as a pivot to get into Victini VMAX, so he played a 2-2 split of the baby ones. And when asked on Twitter, he did say that the baby Victini V, this one specifically, is used because you have 1 retreat cost, and that actually goes a long way in the grand scheme of things. So he played a 4-4 Victini VMAX line. There's no way to be more consistent than that. You have Spreading Flames, Max Victory, you can set up as quickly as possible. You can pretty much get the ball rolling as fast as you want, or slow as you want. We have 2 copies of Crobat V, which you already might know from the standard format, was pretty staple. But in conjunction to Crobat, we also had Dedenne GX, but Dedenne GX is no longer with us starting on September. Dedenne GX will be moving to the expanded format and leaving standard format for good, which means that Crobat V is the only way to refresh our hand. But we don't have a discard and draw effect on a support Pokemon anymore, which is a little bit troublesome, but it also means that we're going to have to build our decks in ways that we can play cards to our hand so we can refill it pretty quickly. So that's where some of the card choices and some of the intricacies of the list will come in. We play 1 copy of Eldegoss V, which I think will continue to be a standard in the standard format in the future as well as current, because Eldegoss V with Happy Match is just very strong for reusing any of our supporters, and it's very quick ball searchable, so having a quick ball accessible supporter is always going to be very strong as the format develops or as things develop. It also helps a lot when we're playing 1 or 2 niche supporters, as this list does specifically play niche supporters. You guys will see it in a second here, but it does play some niche supporters. Now, Kricketune V was a card that I was initially very hyped about, but in the current standard format has not really done anything because Dedenne and Crobat have kind of been preceding it, and bench spots are very crucial as we get down to the wire, I guess, when you're deciding where you want to put stuff and how you want to do things. But in the post-rotation format, Kricketune V can be our pivot that we need as soon as something gets knocked out. Reset Stamp is gone, but Marnie does stay in the format. So we're going to have to deal with things like when we get Marnie low, to thin out a little bit, exciting stage into that last copy of boss, into that last quick ball, into that Crobat to dig for the boss. Like, exciting stage is an ability that's going to be very strong, and when you have something like an Air Balloon on top of your Kricketune V, it's going to make it much easier to pivot in and out of. So it does become very good. Now, Kricketune V also has synergy with some other cards in this deck that I'll get into in a second. We have 2 copies of Energy Search. I know what you're thinking. Energy Search, one of the most basic bare bones cards that comes in every starter deck, every like theme deck, every base set from existence from day one, basically. Yes, Energy Search. We don't have Energy Spinner anymore, and there's no better way to search for energy cards in this format because Giant Hearth is rotated out as well. So when you need to get that turn 1 energy attachment, what better way than just playing Energy Search, because it's a thinnable card as well. So if you get Marnie low, or Kricketune, or like Marnie low, or just put into a situation where you need to thin more cards out of your hand to get Crobat going, this Energy Surge acts as an energy, but it isn't actually an energy. So it's just one of those cards that you can get rid of and draw an extra card when you need to, which can go a long way. But it also acts as that turn 1 energy attachment, that turn 2 energy attachment. Whenever you need to find it, it works. Only basic energy, like keep that in mind, guys. 2 copies of Escape Rope. Switching cards are still very strong, and in the case that your opponent doesn't bench more than 1 V Pokemon or has a really awkward bench going for them, because now on the bench support Pokemon are more likely not going to be a Dedenne that gets pushed up because there's no Dedenne. They might have to be forced to push up a Crobat, they might have to be forced to push up like a Kricketune or an Eldegoss and give you a free 2 prizes, allowing you to kind of play your game plan out like you want to as like a 2-2-2 game plan, as opposed to a 2-2-3 or a 2-3-3 game plan where you have to take out 2 VMAXs. Escape Rope just pushes your opponents into awkward situations that they don't want to be in, and at the end of the day, you are playing the aggressive deck with Victini VMAX, so you're more than happy to just take whatever 2 prizes they give you, because unless they're playing a straight water deck, which Calyrex, Ice Rider Calyrex will do, you should be able to take out most things in the format with 220. We have 2 copies of Evolution's Incense. It's just another 2 cards to help us find our Pokemon. I think we do lose Pokemon Communication, which would have been a very important asset to continue having in this format, but we do lose that, so we now have Evolution Incense to substitute as just a way to find our copies of Victini VMAX much more reliably. So then we have 6 outs for Victini VMAX, because while we do have Quick Balls and 4 Victinis, we don't really have a really good way of finding our Victini VMAXs, so Evolution Incense is the best way. Pokégear was printed in Sword and Shield base again, and Pokégear being in the format is just an excellent support card, because we do want to be able to find our supporters early and often. So Pokégear gives us the option to say we have a Marnie in hand but we're looking for research, or we have a research in hand but we're looking for that boss. We have an option to Pokégear and just look at the top 7. So it acts as a pseudo supporter card, and also lets us dig a little bit deeper to find that exact supporter card we need to find, or get rid of a supporter card in our deck that we don't want to have anymore. 3 copies of Pokégear is very strong. Now, this is a very interesting card that I'm very glad Peter played and brought back into the limelight. Pokémon Catcher was printed in Sword and Shield base once again, and Pokémon Catcher was a card that I was initially very hyped on. Both Great Catcher and some other cards rotating, and Victini VMAX being a deck where you're just trying to kind of take out the 2-2-2 prize plan, like I mentioned earlier. Having a card like Pokémon Catcher, which acts as your supporter for the turn without actually being a supporter, can go a long way. Yes, it is a coin flip, but it can bring up literally anything and blow it up on the spot, which is invaluable in my opinion. With 4 Pokemon Catcher, 3 Boss's Orders, and 2 Rope, we have 4 50-50 cards, 3 straight Gust cards, and 2 pseudo Gust cards because we can't pick what we want to bring up. There's 4 copies of Quick Ball. We need to be searching through our deck. We need to be getting these guys down. With the 4/4 Victini VMAX line, we're almost certainly going to find what we need there, but the Quick Balls are mostly for our support Pokemons and just making sure we don't get like benched out. 2 copies of Switch. We also might need to pivot around here and there. Things might get stuck in the active. We might want to switch out of the Kricketune. Yeah, it's just a way so we don't have to waste an energy card because we don't have Welder, so we can't accelerate multiple energy into one turn like we used to be able to without using Spreading Flames. Now, by going second and getting some energy into the discard, which is going to be a little bit more difficult because we don't have copies of Dedenne anymore, we can use Spreading Flames to put energy onto our board, but with no Dedenne, the only real discard card we have here is Research and Quick Ball. So that's still a lot of discard still, but we don't have an accurate way of finding our fire energy. So it's a little bit of a tall ask, but we could have a pretty strong Spreading Flames on turn 1. Now here's where the package of the deck that gets really fun to me is. We have 2 copies of Rose Tower. Now there's no more Chaotic Swell. There's no more of these stadiums that are like blank spots. So I think Stadium Wars are going to come back in a weird capacity. And I know you're thinking, they might drop to 3 cards in their hand. Doesn't Kricketune already do that? Well, now you have 2 ways to do that. And we have 2 copies of Daddy Rose. Attach up the 2 basic energy from your discard pile to one of your Pokemon VMAX. Now this basically sets up a Victini VMAX any turn, anywhere, anyhow you want to put it. Anyhow you want to slice it. And then you can have 2 Victini VMAXs powered up as soon as turn 2. And then you're catchering, bossing, whatever. Just playing the game how you want to play it. It acts as a pseudo welder and we are discarding our entire hand, right? Well, we have Rose Tower, we have Kricketune, we have Crobats. All these cards refill our hands to full capacity, and that's where it goes a long way. We have 4 copies of Research and 2 copies of Marnie. These are our current best in slot standard supporters. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. I think almost every deck will be copying a full playset of Research and 3 copies of Marnie, or 2 to 3 copies of Marnie, or the other way around where it's 4 copies of Marnie or 2 to 3 copies of Research, just because they are our best in slot standard supporters, and until we get more options revealed to us, that'll probably be the case for the entirety of the upcoming season. There's 3 copies of Boss's Orders, which is, I mean, you normally want to play 4 in a deck like this, but I think substituting with 4 Catcher is just as cheeky and it gets the job done, because as long as we get 1 or 2 Catcher heads, we probably win the game where we want to. There's 2 copies of Air Balloon. We do want to have the free retreat options. It's more of a utility tool, gets us where we need to be. Then we have a defensive tool in Big Charm, where this pretty much goes onto our baby Victini Vs. Actually, this doesn't help us in the mirror match. I'm trolling. But if this goes on our big boy, this can just offset some of the numbers posed by like decks like Eternatus, posed by decks like Urshifu. We just can offset the numbers a little bit, like Single Strike especially, and kind of sustain a little bit longer. In addition to that 30 extra HP, we have 2 Heat Energies, which comes with 20 extra HP. And there isn't really anything in the format that just gets rid of special energy off the bat. The biggest things that used to do that, Giratina, is gone. Fan of Waves does still exist, but Fan of Waves just puts it at the bottom of the deck, and it's just 1 energy cost for missing, so as long as your Heat Energy isn't your first attachment, and it gets immediately Fan of Waves, you should be okay. Then there's 10 copies of Fire Energy, so we have 12 copies of Fire Energy and 2 copies of Energy Search total, so the deck overall is just a consistent machine that gets its one job done. Get Victini out, use Max Victory on 2/2 prize cards, or 2/3/2, something like that along those lines, where you're just eliminating the threats as quickly as possible, or attacking the support Pokemon, because not every deck, or every deck in this format, has to play support Pokemon. It's the same reason ADP was so strong, because the DAA and Crobat had to be played in almost every single deck. So that's kind of the rundown on the deck. So let me go into a little bit of analysis about how the deck works. I hope you guys enjoy this list. Let's go into it right now. That's the list, guys. That is the post-rotation first look at Victini VMAX. I understand there are 2 more sets coming out, but for those of you looking into cards to buy for the post-rotation format, this is a good look at what to start looking at, what to buy. I think Victini is going to be strong regardless. Shout out to Peter, Kica, and Angel Miranda for playing this list. They both did amazing at the tournament. I wish them the best of luck at the 10K event in New Jersey on August 8th and 9th. But until then, this is our first look at post-rotation. I'm going to start looking a little bit more at post-rotation probably, and some of the lists that have been doing well in the Pablo Table 1 Challenge, and some other things, because, well, standard right now is a little bit boring, and it's kind of figured out, but until we get a little bit more of an in-depth Players Cup 4, I guess, like push, we'll do what we can, and hopefully you guys enjoy the content. So until next time, until Wednesday, hope you guys like, subscribe, and check out my content on all their socials. My TikTok's been doing really well. I want to convert that to Twitch as well, but Twitch is going to be less of a priority. I will be streaming Pokemon Snap here and there. So hopefully you guys enjoy it, and thank you for watching.